It's Friday, it's Friday, it's Friday. Woohoo! Woohoo! Bench. Bombs! Yeah! Happy Friday, scholars. Way to go on another week of working super hard on online learning. It is day 10. Wow. Amazing job. That's 2 full weeks of being online and rocking it. All right, we're going to start off with some shout outs. But first, actually, we're not going to start off with shout outs. We're going to start with some data. So I wanted to give you guys some information on how many scholars are participating, and more specifically, how many scholars are turning their work in each and every day. So the next slide is going to be a graph. It's going to be specifically a bar graph. It's going to have all the information this week. Okay. On this bar graph, as you can see, the title of the graph says total number of 4th graders completing assignments. So what I have done is I have essentially taken information from my Google Classroom that shows the total number of students in our classroom and all of the students who are turning in their work. So if you notice the blue bars, those blue bars are all of the students that we have registered in our Google Classroom. That is 68 students. That's a lot. Whoa. The red shows the number of students who are completing an assignment each day. So the first graph, or the first bar graph, there's 51 students on Monday who turned in all of their work. Awesome. On Tuesday, there were 52 scholars who turned in their work. And on Wednesday, there were 50 scholars. So we're kind of going whoop and then woo. So make sure you're all submitting your work. I would really, really, really love to see that number get all the way to 68. If we can get every single scholar in our classroom submitting all of their work, that would be awesome. Next week, there will be some fun incentives and potentially some prizes for all of those scholars who are completing their work each and every week. We definitely want to get some competitions going. So next slide is shout outs to all of those scholars who have turned in their work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Woo! There's so many of you. Truly, like, this slide is going to go on forever. Again, I'm so proud and so impressed with all of these scholars who have showed achievement, hard work, self-determination. Continue to do that next week, because next week we're going to get started on division. Ooh, spicy. All right. I have a couple of questions today for our guided practice. They were some of the really tricky questions on yesterday's quiz. Be sure you have a piece of paper, pen, or pencil. We're only going to do 2 questions, and then you're only going to have a couple questions also for your independent practice. All right, here we go. All right, as I mentioned in the data review and shoutouts, we only have 2 questions today for our guided practice and only a few questions for your independent practice. So hopefully you already have your scratch piece of paper, and let's get started. Both of these questions were on yesterday's quiz. They were the most challenging questions, as I noticed that these are questions that had the lowest overall percentage. So let's start with solving 42 times 79, and we're going to continue to go ahead and use the array method. I've already went ahead and written this number sentence on my scrap piece of paper and drew my box to represent my array. Go ahead and also make sure your array has 2 rows and 2 columns so it can break apart each value into tens and ones. The first number is 42. The tens and the ones are, that's right, 40 and 2. I'm going to label those as my columns. The second number is 79. Its tens and ones are, that's also right, 70 and 9. The top left, our number sentence is 70 times 40. The top right, our number sentence is 70 times 2. our bottom left array, our number sentence is 9 times 40, and our bottom right number sentence is 9 times 2. Now these can be pretty challenging number sentences because our multiples of 7 and even our multiples of 9 can again be a little bit tricky. So if you need to skip count anywhere in your piece of paper, please do so to help you double check all of your answers. I'm going to think of all the work that we did earlier in this week where I'm going to multiply the digits that are not the zeros and including zeros at the end. 7 times 4 is, let's write 28. Since there are 2 zeros, or at least 1 0 on each n, I will include this at the end of my number, so my product is 2,800. 7 times 2 is 14. I have 1 0 in that digit, or excuse me, in that number, so I include it at the end of my product. 9 times 4 is 36. However, I really want to double check, so I'm going to skip count by 9s at the bottom of my paper. 9, 18, 27, 36. Indeed, 9 times 4 is 36, again, including a 0 at the end. So 9 times 40 is 360. Since I already counted by 9s, 9 times 2 is 18. Again, I'm going to reference the skip counts I've already made. I'm going to go ahead and add my partial products. As I'm looking at my numbers right here, I want to go ahead and make it easy on myself, and I'm only going to add 2 numbers at a time. I'm going to start with these 2 values that are in the hundreds. 360 plus 140 equals 500. I know that because 300 plus 100 is 400. But when I add 60 and 40, that's going to make another 100. Altogether, that would make 500. I'm now going to add 500 to 2,800. Since I know that 200 plus 800 would make another 1,000, that means I would have 300 left after I added 200 from this 500. So that would make 3,300. Lastly, we need to add 18. 3,300 plus 18 equals 3,318. Since we also practiced the stacker method, which we called the standard algorithm, I'm also going to use that to quickly double check my addition. So if I stack all the numbers on top of each other in their place values in there, I won't get tricked when I add ones, tens, hundreds, then thousands. I'm going to start with 2,800. Then I'm going to include 360 below, then 140, then 18. And again, notice how I've lined up all of my digits in each of their place values or their rooms. Starting in the ones place, all of these zeros adding to 8 will just be 8 ones. 6 tens plus 4 tens is 10 tens. One more 10 is 11 tens. 11 tens is the same as 110. I put the 100 or the 1 digit in the 100s room. 100 plus 800 is 900, plus one more 100 is 1000. Adding 300 makes 1300. I include the 1 digit for the 1,000 in the 1,000s place. So 1,000 plus 2,000 equals 3,318. I used 2 strategies for adding my partial products to make sure I had the correct answer. Let's go ahead and type in our final product in the blank space. 3,318. Go ahead and take 2 minutes setting up your array for the second strategy. Okay, so you had 2 minutes to set up your array for question number 2. And because we have a value in the thousands, all we need to do is actually just add an additional column or an additional row to show each of those values. So in 1,309, the ones digit represents the thousands, the 3 digit represents 300s, and the 0 digit represents the tens. So I can just represent tens as 0. And then the ones digit 9 is just 9. So my array is very similar to how we did it with tens and ones. Now I'm just showing thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. Another example that I actually showed us earlier in the week is where we simply break down each number sentence without using an array. Both of these strategies work. One just shows you a picture and the other one just shows the number sentences. So when you multiply 8 times 1,000, that equals 8,000, and that would be the same answer in your array. So then 8 times 300, well, 8 times 3 equals 24. Include 2 zeros at the end. My product is 2,400. And remember the example that I showed you earlier in the week, when you have a 0 in any of the place values, you can either leave it blank because we know when we multiply anything by 0, it's just 0, or we can write it just to show that we actually did the work. I actually always write it just to show I did the work and so I know that I multiplied each digit by their values. So the last one is 8 times 9. And before, again, if I get tricked on any of my multiples, 8s or 9s, I can write the skip counts on my piece of paper. I'm going to go ahead and do that just so I don't get tricked. So 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63. Well, I know 45 is when I count by 9 5 times. So this 54 would be 6 times, 63 would be 7 times, and the next one, 72, would be 8 times. So 8 times 9 equals 72. We now just need to add all of our partial products, which is 8,000, 2,400, and 72. I'm going to go ahead and stack it because I only have 3 values that we're adding. When you're stacking, make sure you place each value in their correct, or excuse me, each digit in their correct value. So starting in the ones place, all those zeros plus 2 is 2 ones. In the tens place, all the zeros plus 7 tens is 7 tens. In the hundreds place, we just have 4 hundreds. 8,000 plus 2,000 equals 10,000. So it looks like our final product is 10,472. Let's go ahead and type that one also in the blank space. 10,472. Amazing work again, scholars, on your second week of online learning. Don't forget to answer the independent questions after this video and click next and then submit at the bottom. Have an amazing weekend. See you on Monday.